Talk about something Parshas Chukas over here.
What?
Parshas Chukas, the Torah says, "Odom ki yomos ba'oil." From this
I'll use a
pasuk,
question.
the Gemara learns out at the end of Maseches Brachos Samach Gimel, "Ein divrei Torah miskayimim ela b'mi shemeimis asatz ma'ala." The Torah only lasts within someone who kills himself over it. We've discussed over the last 15 years this statement many times. There's a lot to discuss about this. We could talk about this for hours and hours and hours. What does it mean, someone who kills himself over the Torah? It means that he has to kill his taivos hagashmius. Explains the Alina L'Shabbat. He has to destroy all of his physical desires that he has. Forget about all of these physical desires. Forget about all of it. Eating all of these things. That's what it means. The story of Reb Aaron Cohen, Rosh Hashiva of Hebron, he said that one time he went to the Chazon Ish in Bnei Brak, and he said, what should he answer to people who ask him, people learning in the yeshiva, how can I get rid of my taivas achilu? I have desires to eat. How can I get rid of that? Answered the Chazon Ish, Miyoyim shekabalti al atzmi ol Torah. From the day that I accepted upon myself the yoke of Torah, Ein li musag mahi taivas achila. I don't even know what taivas achila is. What does that even mean? Have a desire to eat? Got more important things to do. The truth of the matter is, this statement, which many will think, oh, it's intense. That's the Chazon Ish. He's like an angel. It's a high level. Truth is, if a person learns Torah properly, they'll find that all of these so-called made-up diseases, sicknesses, illnesses, right? Problems, they won't even exist. They're all just made up. That's the truth of the matter. Someone in the yeshiva in Panovich, he said that one time someone was going through difficulties in terms of desires. Typhus. He needed a treatment. So Rav Shach addresses, and he said, "An Maven. Why don't you tell him to learn one V'im timer and Typhus, and his desires will go away. It will break everything. Learn a little Torah Kedash." So they said he was talking about someone who was really, he has a real mental illness. This is a real illness that we're talking about. This isn't a made-up illness over here, made-up sickness. This is a real issue over here that we're talking about, they said. Yeah, no, no. If it's so difficult, so then let him take a Rebbe Akiva Eiger. All the typhus will go away. In other words, the person is involved properly with Torah, typhus will go. We discussed in the Parsha recently. Last week was Korach. I think it was the week before Shlach. I don't really know exactly how it came up, but we discussed when it comes to the Yetzer Hara, all these Yetzer Haras. So we discussed the main thing is not to have the improper thoughts, not to look at what you're not supposed to look at, etc. And then you won't. You're not. Nothing else is expected of you. That's enough. That's how to get rid of it. If you learn Torah, you'll get rid of it. So Kasarosh, learn Torah. You won't have these other improper thoughts. Same exact idea. Similar idea. It's a beautiful story. Tremendous chizuk for me personally. Someone who isn't necessarily gifted intellectually. A regular person. Regular person. I don't have special skills of being smart. A regular person. One time, someone came to Zilberstein and was very upset. Talking about an individual who's a serious tiger, he learns Torah, and he had a lot of money. And he said, I was looking for a son-in-law, Ben Torah, who's going to excel, good characteristic traits, etc. And I said that, I was looking for someone for my daughter who was going to learn Torah full time. I was going to support him, continue to learn, to grow in Torah, Avodas Hashem. And we found someone that was great. Outstanding individual, tremendous hasmada, diligence. All of his rabbis testified that he's great. And we took him. We took him. Shortly after, it was it surfaced that his expectations of this individual were exaggerated, to say the least. He still definitely has tremendous diligence, and he utilizes every moment that he has, but nevertheless, his intellectual ability is not the smartest individual, or as they say, sharpest tool in the shed. Okay? So the Shver, his father-in-law, now said that, maybe this is what we call a mekach ta'os. It's a faulty transaction. Let's go back. We have to go back on it. Stop the shidduch. Yeah, they were married, engaged, it seems like. So he got very upset. Said I was tricked. So responded to this individual. There's another similar story with the Sraf Mibrisk, Rabbi Yeshua Lev Diskin. Similar story. They wanted to cancel the shidduch. They were going to get married. Wasn't what he thought he was. Rabbi Yeshua Lev got up and he said, the Mishnah Novo says in Perek Daled, custom to learn Perkei Avos now. We discussed that recently in Siman Reish Adi Beis at length, as to 10 different customs when to learn Pirkei Avos, all the details, why specifically after Mincha, why specifically in the summer, why specifically in between Pesach Shul. The Mishnah says, Kol HaMakayim es HaTorah ma'oini soifel l'kayim ma'osher. Whoever fulfills the Torah in a state of poverty will fulfill the Torah in a state of wealth. This isn't only talking about someone who is financially poor. Rather, someone who's an ani b'kishoinus. He's poor in terms of his intellectual ability that he has, or their lack of. He's not the smartest fellow. Hashem gets that intellectual lacking. If you don't pay attention to it, and the difficulties, the tests, and people who are making fun of you continue to learn with a smada, with tremendous diligence, at the end you will fulfill the Torah out of wealth. You will be very smart. You just keep learning, keep plugging away. Be able to learn with spiritual wealth, so to say. Explained by Leib Diskin to this individual, don't worry about your new son-in-law that you're gonna that you're gonna have. Just let him continue with his diligence, and he'll take that poverty and he'll become wealthy at the end. And he says, he heard from Rabbi Yitzchak Hutner that he testified in front of Rabbi Aaron Cutler. He said he knows who that son-in-law was. And after time, he became a tremendous individual and for Klal Yisrael. He became tremendous. Said this is what Zilberstein told the parent back, and that's what happened. They continued. Similar story with the well-known story with the Chassam Sofer. Had a certain Talmud. And the guy was very slow at learning. He was very weak, and he kept plugging away. He wasn't the smartest at all, and he ended up becoming a Rav. And the Chassam Sofer quotes him a few times in his Shuvas, even. And the person who really talks about this a lot is the Stipler in his Chayei Olam. Also in other places, the Stipler says about himself, Rabbi Yaakov Yisrael Kanievsky, that he himself wasn't the smartest. He just had the diligence.
Wow.
And he says, this is a line that I remember clearly because it talks to me, that what's the difference between a guy who's average and a guy who's smart? The answer is the guy who is smart grasps it quicker, but the guy who is average, it takes longer for him to understand it. But at the end of the day, they both understand the material. However, the person who is average will continue to learn. He wants more. He has more diligence and he continues to show up. Whereas the guy who's smarter, he says, "Oh, I'm done. I don't need this anymore. I already got it." And he doesn't continue to grow, so he's not going to know as much. That's an important point that is mentioned. One of the important points when it comes to learning Torah to keep in mind is, you know, when is a person obligated to learn? Until what age? So the Rambam says we hold this way, halachas of Talmud Torah and Yoredeya, Reish Mem Vav, until a person dies, he's obligated to learn. The Rambam says, where he talks about the obligation to learn Torah, so also in Torah Shulchan Aruch over there, that a person, everyone is obligated to learn Torah. Every man, women, of course, are obligated to learn the halachas that apply to them. Every man is obligated to learn Torah, whether he is wealthy, whether he's poor, uh, whether he is old, whether he's young, whether he is sick or not, and even someone who has a lot of children. So there's a story with Rabbi Eliezer Yehuda Finkel, Zatzal, who was the Rosh Hashiva of the Mir, and he had a heart attack. Shortly after his heart attack, he was visited by Rav Shlomo Lawrence. Rosh Hashiva was complaining by Finkel. He said he doesn't have time to sleep. He said he has a schedule of to learn 7 daf Gemara every single day, 10 prakim in the Rambam, and more. He has a whole schedule. So Reb Shlomo asked, did the Rosh Hashiva ask the doctor if this is permitted to have such a rigorous schedule like this? The Rosh Hashiva, Rabbi Finkel answered, it's an explicit Rambam. The Rambam says everyone is obligated to learn Torah, even someone who's older or someone who's sick. What do I need to ask the doctor for? The Rambam is a doctor. I already have my prescription, so I got to continue learning. One of the foundations for learning Torah is a person has to invest all their energies and efforts into learning. Someone thinks we could multitask while learning Torah. You see nowadays, some people, they go to a shiur, they're on their phone. They're not at the shiur. Their mind's in a different place. They're not at the shiur. You don't multitask when you learn Torah, okay? You need to fully focus. Rabbi Yeshua Cohen, his Kerem Yeshua, discusses how nowadays you see healthy teenagers, healthy 20-year-olds, they come to the base medrash to learn and they go, they have their iced coffee, the pina colada, they're reclining. What do they think this is? What do they think this is over here? That's not how you learn. You learn Torah, you got to fully focus on what you're doing over here. Can't be involved with matters pertaining to this world when you learn Torah. We see how in the world of careers, people have careers. You got to make a lot of money to be Jewish or get the money from somewhere, right? People, they sacrifice a lot for careers. You see all sorts of careers. People, they sleep very little. They eat very little. Why? Because to make money, they sacrifice a lot. Number one, to get the degree, and number two, to continue in their field of expertise in their career that they're doing. So if these people are doing that for money, then certainly we have to do that for Torah. Sometimes you have to sacrifice to learn. That's what it means. You have to kill yourself over it. There's a story with Rabbi Cheskel Landau, the Nod Yehuda. The slach, we learned a beautiful slach together yesterday. Remember the slach from the Gemara and Brachos that we learned? That's the same Rabbi Cheskel Landau, the Dagmar Valva. Remember that slach?
That what?
Slach who was talking about the mitzvah of running to shul.
Oh, running to shul.
Right? Why is it a mitzvah? Because get your desires into it. You have a yearning for it, right? You have the right, and we saw he questioned Abaye in the Gemara why he didn't say it was permissible to run on Shabbos. The Gemara in Brachos Daf Vav
Said mutter as opposed to
exactly, very good. You're only allowed to run to shul if you were late on Shabbos, but if you weren't late, then you can't run. That was their chiddush. Okay. The note to be Yehuda, the Tanina, Nor Chaim, and Shilas and Chuvas Simon Nun writes. He says he was responding to a Rav who asked him a Shiloh. And this particular Shiloh, the note to be Yehuda was honest, which unfortunately is a problem nowadays with many people. They always pretend that they know the answer. And he said, this requires more research. This is the note to be Yehuda talking. The Sricha Iyuna. This requires more research. Right now I'm busy preparing a wedding for my daughter. And even so, I'll give you a quick answer, but this requires more research. In other words, the Nod Yehuda was asked from a Rav, and he responded, this requires more research, because he's involved with the preparations for his daughter's marriage. Rav Eliashiv asked the obvious question over here on this. What do you think? The Nod Yehuda was cooking the wedding? What was he doing exactly for the wedding? Right? Getting makeup ready for himself? What did he do it? Talking about the leader of the Jewish people, the Nod Yehuda. It was 13 days before the wedding. What was the Nod Yehuda doing? Looking for a dress for his daughter? Come on. How could we understand this? He's so burdened, preoccupied. Need to say it requires more research. And in the previous tshuva, if you look in Siman Mem Tes, he just gives a response without a question, without the whole introduction. My daughter's. You have to say, if you know the answer, you could just rattle it off. If it's not a complicated question and you know the answer, if you don't know it, it requires more research. You have to be honest with yourself. Like the other day, someone was bombing me with 30 shilas. 28 of them I knew. 2 of them I said I'm not sure, to be honest. So I looked into them more and then I gave him the answer. Requires time. So the Yoshev answers this question based on a Gemara in Eruvin, Samache. The Gemara says, Amrli aim, Korav Kuscha Loitane. Talking about, I think it's a Abaye if I'm not mistaken, that someone's mother said, his Abaye is probably his nurse, whatever. Someone would say, bring me like a yogurt. Okay. I wouldn't be able to learn Torah. What does that mean? Even a commandment, which is very light, it would prevent me from learning. Even a simple task would prevent me from learning, Rashi explains. I wouldn't be learning the same way. Explanation is, if his mother would ask something, even an easy task, he wouldn't be able to focus like the way he focused before. We see from over here that the midas harichus b'Torah, when it comes to focusing on learning Torah HaKadoshah, even a small task could disturb our focus. We have to be fully focused on what we're doing. That could explain why the note to be Yehuda, why he couldn't answer the same way before the marriage. 13 days before the marriage, still, his focus was a little off. He's being honest with himself. His focus was off. Just like an angel invests all of his energies to the one task that Hashem gives that angel and cannot do anything else. No multitasking. So too, these righteous people, these tzaddikim, tzaddik Elyon, Gedoyli Oilam, all their thoughts are just given to Hashem. Can't preoccupy their minds with something else. Baruch Hashem, people nowadays, when they come out of the restroom, they're saying an Asher Yotzer. Baruch Hashem, people are saying brachas, but you know what? When we say brachas, we have to be fully focused on the bracha. Can't focus on anything else also. Halachically and hashkafically. When people come out of the bathroom, they should not be washing their hands while saying Asher Yatzer, nor drying them while saying the Asher Yatzer. Fully focus on what you're doing. We live in a generation where there's so many distractions and people are always trying to have their mind somewhere else, be somewhere else. It is very rare nowadays to have someone in a physical location and to have their undivided attention, that they are not thinking about anything else, that they are, number one, not only physically present, but mentally present. Nowadays, everyone is always thinking about something else. No one's even where they are. They're always just thinking about something else. We have to think about where we are and focus where we are and forget about everything else. That's when it comes to Torah. Think about where we are, realize where we're holding, focus on what we're supposed to be doing, and get the distractions out. We discussed a little bit about the whole, phones in the base measures, all that. That's the idea. All these things are distractions. It's better to learn for less time without any distractions than for more time but with distractions. And that's true. They're talking about on the time that we have. Nowadays, someone told me, oh yeah, so and so. Yeah, he sets time to learn every single day. When? On the LIRR on the way to work. Look, great. Why not? You shouldn't just but that's not the Koveya Itim we're talking about. That's good if it's extra. But for that to be an only person's learning, when he's in transit to his job, when the train's moving, when there's other noises, other distractions, other types of people there, that's not an optimal place. Go show up in a holy place, in a place, not a small shul where there's 3.5 people learning and all you hear is the crickets outside of this from the summer. Go to a place which is full of kol Torah. You hear people that are sitting and learning in a base medrash. And you see it's a holy place to the extent that if a random person would walk in that isn't Jewish, they'd realize, what am I doing here? I'm in the wrong place. As opposed to if they would just walk in this small place, they'd say, oh, nothing's going on here anyways. Go in where there's a situation where you're going to grow from that in the right environment, where you're fully focused on learning, and then that's it. Block everything else out. When I'm at home, we are zocheh to. I'm very fortunate to have a beautiful Svardim room with thousands of Svardim all in one room. Every sefer I want, of course, with the amazing technology of the Otzar Chachma on the computer, which of course you got to pay for that. But it's an amazing thing. But sometimes when I'm home, I realize, look, I'm home right now. And if my kids temporarily want my attention or someone else in the house, whatever it is, okay. Any learning that I get done, so to say, if it's not the official time that I'm supposed to be learning, if I'm just learning when I'm supposed to be, it's extra. I realize I can't fully focus on that. That's not my time. When I'm out of the house, when I'm here, when I'm in the base medrash. Now this is great. This is Torah. This isn't for me. I know the material. I already prepped all of it. Now it takes a lot of steiging, a lot of preparation to prepare all of it. But when I'm in the base medrash, when I'm learning, off the recording, not when I'm giving a shir. Right? Last night, beautiful thing. What, you think I'm gonna be on my phone in the middle of giving a shir in Shari Tefillah with 40 people over there? You think I'm gonna go on my phone and look at something else? So just like the person giving the shir isn't gonna do that, why is the person attending the shir gonna go on the foot? When a person is out of the house, when they have time that's dedicated to learn Torah, there's sacrifice that's going on in the house for that individual to be there. Someone else is involved with the activities of the house, the children, etc. The person has to utilize that time. Not time to start dozing off, to start getting tired. You want to doze, do it somewhere else. It's time to fully focus. You got to kill yourself over the Torah. Those are some ideas that come to mind when it comes to learning Torah. Everyone should have a wonderful day. Mirza Hashem. Tomorrow we will be Mamshech with Simin Reish Samach Gimel, the halachas of Mariv. Good.
All right, we should pray for this.
All right.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you too.